present a study which you think proves your point, and can you quickly go through what about the study you think proves your point? Like,
No.
what specific?
Fuck off, cunt.
Okay, what?
There's no fucking way I'm doing that. This is your proposition.
No. Your proposition.
Fuck off, you fucking piece of shit.
What do you mean?
Look.
Okay, let me find it. So, okay, and to go up quite. Let me see here. It is. Okay, here it is. So you came with a couple of premises, and
I'm not making an argument.
my entire argument was that there is no evidence that saturated fat.
Okay, well, that's not the
evidence
proposition that's not the proposition I thought we were here to debate.
Well,
I can, well, I don't know how to access Discord messages while I've got this up. But I can just go to where you typed out the proposition. See if you still agree with it. If you're not here to argue that, then I don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
okay.
Okay. 31st of the 5th, I said, what's the proposition? You said saturated fat does not cause heart disease.
Let me get up here. First of the 5th. Oh, okay. Then I'm pretty sure, didn't I mention like something later that I didn't think there was sufficient evidence, and that was what
Okay. Do you want to change it to there is not sufficient evidence?
Yeah. I'll change to there is not sufficient evidence to say that saturated fat causes heart disease beyond a reasonable doubt. Well, saturated fat causal role in heart disease is not evident beyond reasonable doubt. There's no evidence to suggest that saturated fat causes heart disease. We can also just go with that.
Wait, there's no evidence.
Significant evidence.
Significant evidence that saturated fat. Is this correct? That saturated fat causes heart disease?
Yeah. Or LDL if you want to place saturated fat with that.
There's no evidence. There's no significant evidence that saturated fat causes heart disease. That saturated fat, or raised LDL causes heart disease?
Yeah. Oh, I should probably mention, because I did also say, in different contexts, it may or may not increase heart disease. So I would say, itself is not indicated to cause heart disease, or there's no significant evidence that raised LDL in and of itself is causal in heart disease.
Would it be there's no significant evidence that saturated fat or raised LDL in and of itself causes heart disease?
Wait, repeat that.
There's
I was fixing something. What did you say?
There's no significant evidence that saturated fat or raised LDL in and of itself causes heart disease.
Yep.
And what do you mean by significant?
That the evidence should suggest like a decrease in LDL or a decrease in saturated fat intake. It basically means that the evidence is not strong enough to suggest that.
To suggest what, sorry?
To suggest that we should limit saturated fat and decrease LDL.
I just don't really know what that means, because like, what does it mean to suggest that we should reduce our saturated fat intake?
It means that the evidence is sufficient to prove that, or it gets back to this like evident beyond a reasonable doubt. Is it evident beyond a reasonable doubt that increased saturated fat intake causes heart disease? If yes, then that would be significant enough to the point where we should probably limit saturated fat intake if it's evident beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
And it's quite arbitrary what is evident beyond a reasonable doubt and what is significant. Yep.
Yeah, I just want to know what would qualify something as being significant.
I can't like say exactly what would qualify as that, because like giving thresholds for something like it could be, for instance, relative risks. It would be hard to say like I want this study to have a relative risk of 1.5, for instance, and then you say what about 1.49? Well then, okay, that's okay, and then 1.48, and then we go all the way down, and suddenly it's hard to say where the actual threshold is. So it's hard to say like a specific thing. I would say that would qualify as significant, but I would say it should be a study which shows a significant effect. It could be like with the p-value or something, that there's a significant difference between the two groups, and it should be confounded and should have enough test subjects to draw a conclusion, because you can easily reach a relative risk of 2 with like a study of only like 10 people, whereas if you have a study of 100,000 people, reaching a relative risk of 2 is much harder.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just not really sure how to proceed. Like, does the word significant have to be there? Because if you said, look, there's no evidence that saturated fat or raised LDL in and of itself causes heart disease, like that would be a lot more clear to me than there's no significant evidence. Because
Yeah,
like
the thing about that is basically anything could be counted as evidence, no matter how minuscule it is. Like a study of 100 people showing a relative risk of 1.01 is like some level of evidence technically, and like literally any study ever done could count as some form of evidence. That's why I added the word significant.
yeah, it seems like you're just worried about like somebody coming along with like an anecdote or some kind of like very low level evidence and being like, well, this is evidence, so your hypothesis is now negated. But But I'm worried about on the other end of
Yeah.
the spectrum. I'm like, what if I bring in a randomized trial and you're like, well, it's just not significant enough for me. Like
Well, I would of course explain why I don't think it's significant, and we can talk about like why I don't think it's significant or why you think it's significant to reach some common ground there.
yeah, but I don't know if I would have that debate just because, like, it I would want to agree on what the proposition means before we start.
Yes, yes, but yeah, the only thing I thought of, like I just said, is basically like you brought up a study that you think proved your point, or like proves that saturated fat causes heart disease, and then I thought we could have like a discussion of why I think it doesn't prove that saturated fat causes heart disease, and you can also defend the study, like say why you think it proves that cholesterol or saturated fat causes heart disease. That was kind of what I thought.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like if you believe this claim, it you should be able to you should be able to prove this claim in some sense once we get it clarified. And it just seems to me like, depending on where the line is of significant, I might actually agree with the claim.
That's why it's very subjective and arbitrary, like what is considered significant, and that's actually what I thought the debate should be about. Like, why do you think it would qualify as significant? Because you it seems like you think the study you provided provides significant evidence of what you find significant, that saturated fat causes heart disease, whereas I don't. And then I think we could explain why we both think the way that we do about that study, like why I don't think it is sufficient enough to tell me how to live my life regarding saturated fat intake, and whereas you do think, and why you think that.
Yeah, I'm just not sure why I would need to make a case for why I think like a certain inference to be drawn from a certain set of data would be significant, if it's not clear to me, like it's not clear to me what level of significance, whatever that means, would meet the threshold. And I know you're worried about the idea of trying to like narrow it down to an exact pinpoint every parameter in the study and everything like that, but like yeah, it's just not clear to me that whether or not I disagree with this proposition or not. Because I could easily just say, look, I believe it is the case that saturated fat or LDL in and of itself causes heart disease. But I could still agree that there's no significant evidence. Significant. I don't think.
There's no significant evidence. Then why do you think that?
Well,
Would that be the question?
Well, yeah, it's just not clear what that it's just not clear what that would mean in this context because we haven't defined the word significant.
I mean, significant is what you think is significant. Like,
So I could just
you think is sufficient to prove the point.
significant.
Yeah.
I just don't know why that would what I think is what I think is sufficient to prove the point would just be evidence. I don't know what significant evidence is. It's like, what's the difference in your mind between evidence and significant evidence?
The difference, like I explained, like technically, like anything could be evidence, no matter how minuscule it is. It would count the like 0.01% evidence, but that's still
What do you
evidence.
What do you
At
mean?
the very least.
What do you mean
So
anything?
well, okay. So what I mean by that is basically if you have a study like 10 people in the study, a relative risk of 1.01 or something. If that's even possible. With 10 people, but if you have like a relative risk of 1.001 or something, then technically that shows there is an increase in risk for whatever. But if that's significant to prove the point, that's kind of that's I wouldn't believe it can prove the point that X is causal in Y with a relative risk of 1.001, no matter how many people, basically. So I mean, I would be willing to like change it to like there is no evidence, but it's like again like very very low quality evidence can count as evidence, and then you can just say, well,
Well,
this well some level of evidence, so therefore you're wrong.
well, tell me what you think of this. Like, what if I said, "Hey, Oliver, send me $1 million and I'll build you a significant house."
Then I would probably say, can you show the blueprints of house or something?
Yeah. So can you tell me what you mean by
Yeah,
significant?
but okay, then tell me like, what, how, like you obviously think there's a better level evidence and worse level evidence. You would agree with that, right?
Yeah,
You'd
like,
be stupid
yeah,
not to
sure.
agree. Yeah, it's like what exactly pinpoints what evidence is better, and what exactly pinpoints where you would start considering your dietary choices, basically. I mean, when it comes to studies like this, and we have to give precise thresholds to be met,
Yeah,
it just gets muddled, like I explained. Whereas a house, there's a very simple way to show it. It's like a blueprint or an illustration, which is like the bare minimum to like even build that. So the analogy is not like fair, I would say, because there is no threshold to be given when it comes to studies. Basically,
yeah,
there's no precise threshold, at least.
yeah. Look, the problem I'm having is just like, well, you know, let's say I said, let's say I was coming with a proposition and I was like, the evidence that saturated fat causes heart disease is such that I think anyone who doesn't believe it is a fucking cunt, absolute fucking dog. I'll punch you in the face if I ever see you. And
Well, I can also go with that one.
yeah, like so my, I think that the evidence is such that if you don't believe it, you're a fucking absolute piece of shit. The problem with that is, I might just be the kind of person who would think you're a piece of shit for not believing it, based on my own anecdote.
Yeah, but that's why we can discuss why do we each believe the things that we do believe. Like, why do you believe that saturated fat causes heart disease, and why don't I? And then we can talk about like the study you brought up. Like you seem to think that it's sufficient evidence to the point that people should steer away from saturated fat. Whereas I don't think that. And then we can discuss why.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think it feels like a bit of a trap, like coming. If I said, oh yeah, let's
Really
let's
does.
let's debate this proposition, and then you could, like it, oh, like I've got no idea what it would mean for you to prove this proposition to me. and I've got no idea what it would mean for me to disprove it to you. So that's where I'm at with it.
I mean, debates are all about like sharing viewpoints, not really about winning or losing. It's more about like each person getting to share their viewpoint, like why they think this and why they think that. So I think it's a pretty reasonable topic to debate.
I don't. Well, yeah. Look, I don't know what you mean by debate in that context.
We can also call it a discussion if you want.
Okay,
If
so
that helps you.
so we're not actually
Feel,
like
conversation.
trying to prove anything to the other person or anything like that. We're not actually like disagreeing
if
about.
you explain to me why you think it's significant, and I can't prove why and I mean, it's hard to say like in every debate, it's there isn't really gonna come a real outcome out of it. Like whenever you have a vegan versus carnivore debating, no matter who loses, basically none of the time any person changes what they're doing. So it's basically it is basically just in every way just bring forth your viewpoint, why you think the other person is wrong.
Well,
I take just a second. Okay, back again.
yeah, I just don't know what you mean about talking about why the other person is wrong if we don't have any like proposition that we disagree on. Like, do you actually have a proposition that you think we disagree on?
But well, okay. So about the significant evidence, would you say that the study you brought up is significant, like, or is sufficient? Maybe that word, sufficient evidence. And what is sufficient, of course, changes depending on the person. That will be with like any health debate, unless we have like perfect studies who show perfect causality. That's the like only case where debates like this won't be arbitrary or subjective. Like it will be like this no matter who debates this, because all studies have flaws, and it's just about for the person to decide what studies they think are sufficient for them to change their lifestyle. You know.
Yeah, well, like, I mean, I don't really know. Like, I don't really know what would be significant enough for someone to change their lifestyle based on it.
No, but you know what's significant enough for you to change your lifestyle, and you explain why you think this is significant enough. It's basically what I'm saying.
Well, I don't even know if yeah, it's not clear to me whether I would even change my lifestyle based on this evidence.
Well, you do believe that saturated fat causes heart disease, right? There must be some reason to that.
Well, I just, it just feels, it just seems to me like like all you've done is kind of like you're trying to get me to make a positive claim, basically.
No, I'm actually just trying to get to the conversation. wrote a study forth. I prepared a bit on it, and I want to get to talking about it. That's really all.
I mean, maybe we can talk about it. It's just that it's not clear to me like where we're going. Like I'm not here to try and like lay out the entire inference structure for why I think saturated fat causes heart disease.
No, but it's just to say like somewhere along your journey and researching health, you discovered something or multiple things that you found sufficient enough to say that saturated fat causes heart disease, and you can explain the study that you brought up would be one of them, I would guess. And then we can talk about why you think this is sufficient, and I can talk about why I don't think it's sufficient, and we can have like a little debate about that. Or discussion or whatever.
I don't know, man. I just don't think that's I just don't think that's the kind of thing that I'm interested in. Like if you can clarify a proposition and then like make an argument for it, that's what I'd be interested in.
Okay, let me try this then. So, I don't believe that elevated LDL or saturated fat intake in and of itself causes heart disease, which is supported by the fact that there is no significant evidence to prove that it does, and that we have evolved on a high saturated fat diet, basically.
Well, hang on.
No other animal where they have evolved on a high saturated fat diet is it shown either that it produces heart disease.
Look, I didn't catch that whole thing, but if the first three words are "I believe that," then I'm probably just going to agree with the proposition. Like, I agree you believe that, sure. I've got no reason to think you don't believe that.
Okay, how about this one? Saturated fat is very unlikely. Or is unlikely.
Saturated fat is unlikely to cause heart disease?
Yeah, saturated fat and LDL in and of itself is unlikely to cause heart disease.
And
how about that one?
And what do you mean by unlikely?
That there is a higher probability that it doesn't cause heart disease than there is a probability that it does cause heart disease.
Yeah, it's just not.
Do you get it?
No, I don't really get it. Like, it's
Okay, what I'm saying is basically there's a higher chance of it not causing heart disease than it causing heart disease. So that's basically like, it could for instance be like there's a 60% chance that it doesn't cause heart disease and a 40% chance that it does cause heart disease.
Okay, well,
I mean, just for instance, I'm not saying that those percentages are exactly what I believe.
Well, there's multiple things you can mean by that. Like, one possible thing you can mean by that is that you're doing some kind of like probabilistic inference such that you believe 60%, like there's a 60% chance that saturated fat has nothing to do with heart disease at all. Or you could be saying that in 60% of the cases
that's why I said in and of itself. That's why I said in and of itself.
Yeah, it's just...
Maybe I forgot to add that, but that I would add to the proposition then.
Yeah, it's just not clear. Like, it could still be compatible. it could still be compatible with believing that, you know, in 40% of cases or something like that, it does cause it. Is that compatible with what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, then, yeah, I'm not sure if I
Then
disagree with this
I
here.
could probably no. Okay. So, what if I ended up saying there is no evidence that saturated fat causes heart disease? Would you would you then go along with the conversation then?
There's no.
And I know there's the problems that I mentioned that, but then there's of course like the problems with very bad studies could also at some level be interpreted as evidence, and then it gets weird.
There's no evidence that saturated fat or raised LDL in and of itself causes heart disease.
Yeah.
There's no evidence. So, look, there's no evidence. So you're just saying there's no evidence, and you're just agnostic on whether it does. You're just saying there's no evidence.
I would say there is no evidence.
So, would you be willing to say there is no documented, there are no documented cases, or like there's no data, there's no published data or something that would be expected on the hypothesis that saturated fat or raised LDL in and of itself causes heart disease?
Yeah.
There's no. So you're saying there's no data that. There's no data that would be consistent with the hypothesis.
Maybe I can explain it. I can say it another way. There's no data to suggest that there's a causal relationship between saturated fat and heart disease. Would that work better?
There's no data that suggests. It was a little bit clearer before, because it was like I don't really know what suggest means, but if you want to say that there's no data that would be consistent with the hypothesis.
The problem that I'm worrying about is, the problem I was worrying about was like the prior proposition is basically like, if you have a study that shows a correlation between saturated fat and heart disease, even if I explain why I don't think that, then it could also be interpreted as evidence against saturated fat, you know. So that's kind of what I'm worrying about that, as I also said before. But honestly, I'm basically just saying this so that we can actually get on with the debate. So like this nitpicking of the proposition.
Well, I don't know if it's nitpicking. like, I just need to, I just need to know what you're saying. Like,
Wait, okay, I have a thing. So, if I said evidence for saturated fats or LDL's causal role, oh well, okay, there is, okay, the evidence for LDL in being an independent risk factor for heart disease is not evident beyond a reasonable doubt, because that's basically what you work with in science, because you can never be like 100% certain, which is basically what saying causeless, but then you say it's evident beyond a reasonable doubt, but it's not evident beyond a reasonable doubt. And again, that's subjective, but that's how it works in science. Like, you can never be 100% sure, so you gotta say beyond a reasonable doubt.
yeah, I just don't know what the fuck
So
reasonable doubt means. No, I don't know what the fuck that means.
But
it's just like, it just sounds like a get out of jail free card. It's like, oh well, like, you know, it's just like, well, at the end of the day, I think I can reasonably doubt it. I don't know what the fuck that would mean.
I don't know what to say. It's how people work with it in science, because you can never be 100% certain, basically. So you need to say evident beyond a reasonable doubt or not evident beyond a reasonable doubt. And you need to discuss why you think something is or isn't evident beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, I just don't know what you mean when you say reasonable doubt.
It's just reasonable doubt. Like,
Yeah, but I don't think
again,
you're a
what
fucking
you think
reasonable
is
person in
evident
the
beyond
first place.
reasonable doubt is subjective, and I can't, and no one can say like a specific threshold for whatever would consider evident beyond reasonable doubt. You can say like it's when you're 90% confident, but like you can't measure how confident you are in anything, and that's also subjective. Like, how confident are you in one thing versus another person?
Wait,
So it is honestly just gonna have to be like a discussion where we both bring forth our viewpoints, like why do we think this, and then maybe we change our minds, or maybe we change someone else's minds. So that is what debating is. It's bringing forth each person's viewpoint.
I just don't know why my views would be in question in a situation where you're bringing a proposition to me to try and make a positive claim.
What? Right. So what I said is, you have talked a lot about like saturated fat is bad for your heart, and it causes heart disease and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Basically, what I'm trying to do is basically find out why do you think that, and then explain to you why I don't think that. Maybe you'll be persuaded, maybe you won't, maybe I will be persuaded, maybe I won't.
Yeah, that just doesn't sound very interesting to me. I mean, we debated for 3.5 hours last time. You debated Nick for 3.5 hours. Like, you just fucking ramble and like appeal to random crap the whole time, and you know, it's just not clear to me like why I would get into a big like rambling back and forth with you when with just no
I can
goalposts.
say one thing: the debate with Nick was the first debate I've ever done, and I was inexperienced. So I tried whatever argument I could find, and then with our debate, I would say, for most of the part, that was actually just you basically ignoring what I was saying, just coping until like the last study you brought up, and then I was like, I'm not familiar with that study, we'll have to take it another time. That was basically our debate. Honestly, I would say it's both of us just rambling, and now I've become
Yeah, well, now that we're more experienced, why don't we like debate an actual proposition?
Well, this is an actual proposition.
Oh, what's the proposition?
What I said,
Um,
right before.
was it like
I mean,
there's
that happens with like every proposition. That there's gonna be like subjective areas.
were you
Or
saying
there's
it?
gonna be something
There's
arbitrary.
there's
We
no
can't just escape that.
there's no evidence.
I would say no. I changed it to the evidence for LDL's independent causal role in the heart disease is not evident beyond reasonable doubt. And then I would be in favor of that, and you would not be in favor of that.
And by reasonable doubt, do you just mean that it's within like a 90%?
Whatever
error.
each person believes to be reasonable doubt.
Well,
Is when at least the majority of the evidence points to you.
Why the fuck would I debate?
No, not even majority. It's hard to say. Yeah, it's subjective. Why do you believe that it's evident beyond reasonable doubt, and why don't I believe it's evident beyond a reasonable doubt?
No, that's fucked. That's
Like, the outcome of the conversation would be the same. What if I said saturated fat causes heart disease? And then it will also be a debate on, well, why does this qualify as causal versus why doesn't it qualify as causal? I mean, the debate will be the same, no matter like the proposition, basically. No matter what, the entire goal of the debate is basically to like discuss this idea that you brought forth, and maybe I'll bring something forth.
I'm not bringing dick forth. Like, I just want to know, like, if you're actually making a claim.
I said you bring your evidence here, and then we can talk about it in the debate or something like that. Like you show some evidence that you would believe supports your hypothesis, and you brought forth.
What hypothesis? I don't have a fucking hypothesis.
Okay, let's. Then I'll back here, and I'll quote you here. So here. So it says here. Well, there's meta-analysis, or whatever however it's pronounced, for higher power than the smoking studies that conclude saturated fat causes heart disease. Dude, yes, an S-shaped curve. The risk increases the more if you add X amount of saturated fat to an individual with low LDL versus adding the same X amount to someone who already has high LDL. Maybe we'll agree, who knows. Then I said, you can send me your evidence, and then you said Hugo 2020. And I was asking for like your evidence so I could look at it before the debate, so you don't give me like a 100-page study or whatever. I can't really say anything to because I'm very inexperienced, so I need some time to look it through properly. You know, you brought forth the study, and then I thought we could discuss it here.
That's fine. I'm just not really sure if I'm interested in trying to like give you the inference structure that would be required to be drawn from that study in order to make the positive case that saturated fat or LDL in and of itself does cause heart disease. Like if you think you have a case against that, I'd be interested to hear it. But you know, if you don't think you have a case against that, then I don't know. Maybe we can talk about something else.
Okay, so basically, whenever studies they make like conclusions about something is causal or something isn't causal. Basically, what they say is that there's significant evidence. They also use like the word significant there. Are you also gonna be like, well, what do they mean significant? What if I don't think it's significant? You know, so even if it was like a pure causality like debate, like what causes this and what doesn't cause this, it will also go the exact same way as you hypothesizing this would go. Like, what if I don't agree
Yeah, that's the
So
exact
the
problem. Like,
outcome of what we will discuss will be the exact same, and the way we'll discuss it will be basically the exact same.
I don't know what there would be
And it's
to
basically
discuss.
like, wouldn't you agree if we have like a debate where we compare evidence? Like, you believe something causes heart disease, you bring a study. I believe something doesn't cause heart disease, I bring a study. Then we would both talk about why you think my study isn't relevant, and I would talk about why your study isn't relevant. That would be how it would go, most likely.
So you want to have a
So that's
debate.
always gonna. So no matter what we start, but
You want to have a debate where your opponent is trying to make like a positive case for the negation of your claim. Well, I'm not fucking doing that.
my entire argument is actually there is no evidence, and then you bring forth what you think is evidence. Oh well, my hypothesis is there is no evidence that is significant enough to suggest that claim that most people have, that saturated fat causes heart disease.
Yeah, and I'm just saying I have no reason to debate that proposition.
When you then make the positive claim that it does cause heart disease, and you have significant evidence to suggest that, then yeah, I want to talk about it. I mean, my entire idea is there is no evidence for either case, basically, but I know which direction I would steer towards, basically.
Yeah, well, look, if the proposition is just that there's no evidence that you think is significant, yeah, I probably just agree with the proposition.
Well, then what if I change it to there is no significant evidence, and then we can get to discussing why or why not something is significant?
Well, I think it would be
no
better.
Again, like, let me ask you this then: how would you set up a proposition where it wouldn't end up like this? Like, where it wouldn't end up with arbitrary and subjective statements, basically? Because I can't think of any. Every health debate I've ever seen would end the exact same way, because we don't have definitive evidence. We always have to draw conclusions from the snippets of evidence. So we'll always have to be subjective, like, no matter what the proposition is, and basically no matter what studies we bring. And then when we talk it out, it will be maybe obvious which one of us is correct or which one of us isn't. But that's also subjective.
Yeah,
Like, how about you try and think of a proposition where it could be about like any. It doesn't have to be like what we should discuss, but just like any discussion someone might have regarding saturated fat and causes, and with subjective and arbitrary statements.
yeah. I guess I just don't really give a fuck about talking about just rambling.
Then what do you want to talk about?
I don't know. Like it looks to me like you were like, oh,
You don't know. Okay.
you were like, oh, let's debate. Saturated fat does not cause heart disease, and then you actually show up for the debate, and you're like, well, let's just say there's no evidence that I agree with that saturated fat causes heart disease. Like, it seems like you're sort of like half running away from your original proposition. That's what it seems like to me. If you're not if you're not gonna give me like a clear proposition, I could suggest another topic that I
Okay. Just one.
so your debate with Aputa,
Yeah.
where he chin checked you on name the trait.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you, I don't know if you want to like sign off on this right now, but like, what are you saying? He was committed to some kind of proposition, contradiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the what's the
Say,
contradiction?
so I would say in the case of the Superman example, it's basically an example of, well, Superman, which is appearance-wise, we can both agree, like, he is depicted as like basically 100% human in appearance, but at the same time, like, his internals, genetics, or whatever, I don't know what they have on Krypton, it's basically like completely different and nowhere close to what a human is. So it's basically like me having to what I would do with a non-human human, and then it gets into like modalities or modules or whatever it was, for me to disprove like why it wouldn't happen.
Yeah. Let me just see if I can. Wait. Let me just see if I can.
Okay.
Like just guide myself through what the conversation would have been. So he asked you, you know, would you have a preference against a human holocaust? I assume you'd say yes. And then would you have a problem with what was it? Were you talking about chickens or just animals, non-human?
It was like something about a human born with chicken wings or something.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just say what's the what is it true of a chicken that, if true of a human, would cause you to say it's okay to stab human to death? And you said it's just being a human with like with the ability to speak.
I would say it's human life, probably.
Okay, so that's the trait. Just being
Or the potential for human life, it could also be.
the potential for human life. Okay, so yeah, and so then he's just saying like, okay, what if you had this identical being, but it just wasn't technically human.
Well, then you've already like described the kid is technically not a human in the way that you describe human. Then it's not a human. Like,
Yeah, look,
by definition,
that's
like,
fine.
that is technically not a human.
That's the whole
So it's
point
like
of the
that's not gonna
hypothetical.
happen.
No, but do you understand the point? The
Again,
reason.
it's like describing a human. Not. It's like, what do I think? Would I give a non-human human more consideration? What am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah, look.
Human, non-human, or non-human human, or whatever.
Couple of problems. Firstly, I don't like you saying non-human human because that makes it sounds like there's a contradiction.
But you literally said it's something. Yeah, it is. You said like it's this thing that is human, but it's technically not a human.
Well, no, I said it's identical to a human.
What am I?
Like,
So wait, what? Say that again. Your mic cut off.
yeah, I said it's identical to a human.
Mic cut off. Can you say that again?
Yeah, I said it's
So it's
identical.
identical to a human, but it's not a human.
Yeah,
Again, like that is literally a non-human human.
yeah. I just object to
You have
that
something
phrase.
identical to a human.
I just object to you
Without
using
it.
that phrase because it makes it sound like there's a contradiction, but there's not.
There is.
What's the contradiction?
You literally said, what if we have something identical to a human, but it isn't a human, technically? That's like a non-human human. That's a contradiction. You can't have something identical to a human and then say it's not a human.
Yeah. Well, look, it's stipulated
What
that
are you trying to say?
it's stipulated that it's not a human, so it's a Kryptonian. If a Kryptonian man had sex with a human woman, they wouldn't be able to like have a baby. You know. Look, it's just
I don't know if that's described in the comic books.
Look, it's just such that if
But again, that I
no, just shut the fuck up.
wait, can,
It's just
okay,
such.
yeah, go on, go on.
It's just such that
Yeah,
if
go on.
it's just such that if you were looking at one, you wouldn't know if it's a Kryptonian or a human. Like, do you actually understand why
Okay.
this hypothetical
Is
is?
it not? Are you done on the? Yeah, I understand. I understand it. But again, you're literally asking me, what if we have something identical to a human? Then you need to say like identical appearance-wise to a human, but it isn't a human technically, because saying it's identical to a human and not a human, that is, I think you would agree that is a contradiction, like every way.
Yeah, look. When I said that, I was
But then we
I
can
was
work with
assuming
like
the prior context that we had already discussed, which was that it would be, a Kryptonian, which is technically a different species, which can't breed with a human. I'm not saying it's like identical down to the molecule.
just a second. Okay, I'm like sorry, I got interrupted.
Yeah.
So you said something about like the molecules or whatever.
Yeah, look, it was never the
Also, first
claim
of all, there
that.
is no described.
Can you just
Wait, okay,
fucking?
yeah.
It was never the claim that it was identical down to the molecule. It was assumed we were talking about a creature that was different enough that it would not be in the same species, but in terms of like your experience, you wouldn't know if you were looking at a human or a Kryptonian.
Okay,
And the
so
point
say
is to
that
ask you the
is
question, like, would you
okay.
be okay with holocausting these Kryptonians?
First of all, that there's a distinction I would make. Is not. I think the wrong question to ask is, would you Holocaust this or would you Holocaust that? I would say like the only reason why we even in the first place like quote unquote Holocaust cows, pigs, and chickens, and maybe some other animals is because they are a food source. And it's their food source, and and if Superman and his race or species ends up, well, I would say species actually, if they end up being the only, if they end up being a necessary food source, and then yeah, I would, but then it also gets hard because it's like a human in every way, also like the emotions by what I'm familiar with, and the brain, and how the thoughts work, also the same as a human, but it's some magical Kryptonian DNA, or not even DNA, we don't even know what it is, some Kryptonian shit, which is most likely impossible. And then it gets to the module thing, which I think is kind of stupid to ask, because nothing could be a module. Like he says something like the laws of physics, but who knows, maybe in the future the laws of physics won't apply in the same way, or we'll figure out some way to modify them. Then you need technically then nothing is a module basically, but what I would say is like if you have the genetic information for something else than a human, you cannot suddenly look exactly like a human and act exactly like a human. Like that's not gonna happen. And if you're human, you can't suddenly look exactly like a cow, have the same build of a cow, and suddenly leather and hair and all that stuff. Or you can suddenly grow feathers and chicken wings, because you don't have the genetic information for that. That's maybe not a module, but I would say that's significant enough to say that I would reject that hypothesis as something I would have to take part of.
Okay, is that a no? Are you saying you would not sign off on holocausting Kryptonians? Like, I have literally no idea what the fuck you're rambling
It's
about. It's
kind
a
of
yes
weird
or no
because
question.
I have not decided whether or not I think it's reasonable to work with that hypothesis. Like I just said, like you can't have the genetic information for something completely different than a human, and then be exactly like a human at the same time.
I don't think you're
Like
understanding what the question
that's
is. The question
I
is,
can't name a. What?
all right, you're okay with
I'm not gonna take part in that hypothesis then.
you're okay holocausting chickens. You're not okay holocausting human beings. We asked you what is the difference
Yep.
that accounts for this difference in treatment. You said it was being a human. So by your own logic, if you really believe what you said, then you wouldn't hesitate. You would just be like, yeah, fine, Holocaust the Kryptonians. But the fact that you're not
No,
you're not answering that way suggests to me that there might be another, at least some other trait to add to that or to swap out.
let me change it in another way because I think it would be easy for me to answer with like most other things than Superman. So if we just said aliens of equal intelligence of humans, if we can say that, basically, that would be like a hypothesis I would work with. Then I would say we would not holocaust them unless they become a necessary food source.
Yeah,
That's what I would say.
that's just not the question that's on the table.
And baseline, like if we just
Yeah, I just don't give a fuck.
Today, I wouldn't holocaust. Okay.
Yeah, I just don't give a motherfucking shit unless you're answering the question.
Well, I can't answer the question like yes or no. There's obviously gonna be some gray areas. It's not all black and white. There's some gray areas.
Yeah, well, look.
I can just say I will holocaust this and I will holocaust that. So I would say at some point, yes, it would be justifiable to holocaust aliens. That's what I would say.
Yeah, well, that's not the question, but I
There's
mean,
contexts where it would be permissible to holocaust aliens, and there is no context where it would be permissible to holocaust humans.
look. Fucking hell. So, would you be okay with holocausting Kryptonians? Look, if your answer to that is no, then it's not the case that the trait is being human.
Then that it could also be but the thing is, like, Superman, as I said, like, he's human in every way, but in every way also not a human, which is not possible. There's not a module to explain that. I can only say, like, if you're genetic information for one thing, you cannot suddenly become a completely different thing, or exactly like a completely different thing you don't have like any genetic information for. So it would be impossible. And again, like I said, modules are kind of stupid because technically nothing is a module.
Yeah, look, the thing is, like, do you understand, like, I don't necessarily know if you understand, like, the point of these questions. So the point of these questions is, like, there's people who share the intuition that, we ought to, like, protect the negative rights of sentient beings or something like that. It's, anyone who shared that view would, if you asked them, would you be okay holocausting any sentient being, they would immediately say no, obviously. So the fact that you're, you know, if there was just like thousands and thousands of, you know, Kryptonians, they just look indistinguishable from regular people, and, you know, Hitler and all the Nazis were just standing there with, like, you know, ready to force them into gas chambers, you would be like standing there, you know, analyzing like whether the situation is, you know, logically consistent or whatever the fuck, like, fucking bullshit you've been saying.
Like, that situation is not gonna happen. That's the...
Yeah, but the point is, like, in the eyes of anyone with the, like, the shared ethic that we should protect sentient beings, you just sound like a fucking maniac, dude. It's like fucking berserk, like wild,
but
savage.
Like, exactly. What I would say, right, is like I would go along with most hypotheses, except where you describe, like, basically what I said, a non-human human. The case of Superman, he's human in every way, and in every way not.
I don't know why the fuck you kept saying non-human human. Like, do you think there's a contradiction or not?
Well, I've explained many times, you cannot have the genetic information if Superman even consists of something that would contain genetics or whatever he consists of.
Wait, okay, wait. Maybe this can be the new prop.
You cannot have...
Can you say that again? What, like, you cannot have what?
Right, so you cannot have genetic information for one thing and then at the same time a completely different thing. So you cannot have so a human cannot have the genetics of a human.
Wait. Is this just gonna...
Cow.
Yeah, can you just tell me, is this gonna cash out to you're saying it's impossible on a nomological modality?
No.
Or like you're gonna say it's like it's physically impossible?
Because, as I said many times, modalities are stupid. Like, expecting nothing technically, or module or whatever it was. Like, for instance, I had the...
No, dude, I'm asking you.
And he said a module could be...
I don't give a fuck.
No. He said modality, a module could be something like the laws of physics, but even then, do we really know if the laws of physics always hold up? Is it possible that they don't always apply?
Wait, okay, so
Then suddenly,
is
laws of physics are no longer a modality.
is the proposition that the laws of physics don't always hold up?
No.
Okay, so is the
What
are you saying it's
what is this strawmanning? What am I listening to?
okay? Are you saying
I
that?
simply said that that's an example of why modules, modalities, whatever it's called, are stupid, because technically nothing could be a modality, because we don't know if something might not apply
Look,
in certain contexts.
I'm just asking if you're claiming that the hypothetical is impossible on a physical modality.
I'm saying it's impossible, but I can't name a module.
I don't care if you can name a fucking module. Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm just asking. Are you so you're not saying it's impossible?
What do you mean, like, with nomological modality? What do you mean with nomological modality?
Look, I'm just asking. Are you saying that the
I said yes to
hypothetical?
that.
Are you saying that the hypothetical is physically impossible?
Yep.
You're saying it's physically impossible. Okay, that's fine. I don't care. I'm just talking about logically possible. So like, it doesn't matter whether the laws of physics allow for the hypothetical.
Well, I'm not gonna answer impossible hypotheticals And also, like, can I say one thing?
Well-
Human is not the genetics. It's like a mix of both the genetics and like the appearance.
Wait a
and
minute.
The intelligence, or yeah. Okay.
We're not
the
talking about.
appearance and genetics and all of that.
I'm asking you.
So like that's what I find to be human. It's a mix of like different things, like appearance.
No.
and,
Okay, stop. I don't give a
genetics.
shit. I don't give a shit. I
So
don't give a
if-
shit.
so
I don't
if
give a
you
shit.
have,
I don't
like,
give a
the
shit. I don't
exact
give a shit.
appearance of a human,
I don't give a
like the
motherfucking
genetics, like,
shit what you're saying. Yeah, so where were we? You were saying, oh yeah, so the question is, on the logically possible hypothetical that there are thousands of Kryptonians that look identical to humans, indistinguishable to humans, but couldn't technically breed with humans, would you be okay holocausting them? And it doesn't matter if your objection to that is just say, well, it's not physically possible. Like, who gives a fuck? No one gives a fuck. It's logically possible. And if the answer is no, it's not the case that the trait you named is the trait.
Okay, then I would say that if Superman and his relatives become a necessary food source, yeah.
Well,
There are, I would
no
say
one
there are
no one said
examples,
anything about
okay,
necessary
there
food
is
source.
the context where it's justified to Holocaust Superman and his family, whereas there are no
No,
examples of which were
I'm asking you,
allowed to do
on
that of
your
humans.
view,
That's what I'm saying.
is it permissible to Holocaust Kryptonians?
In some contexts,
In some contexts.
yeah. In certain contexts, it is, yeah. Such as if they are a necessary food source, is what I would say.
Yeah, no, fuck that. Like, what if it was just
Okay.
what if it wasn't?
Well, it wasn't what if they weren't a necessary food source,
Yeah.
then I wouldn't. Then I wouldn't Holocaust them if they were in the necessary food source.
Okay, so then what is the trait? Yeah, so now you're saying it's okay to Holocaust chickens, but it's not okay to Holocaust humans. And
Yep.
the thing that makes it okay to Holocaust chickens is that they're not human, but there are other cases of not humans that are okay to Holocaust. Wait,
Oh yeah, I would also also say like
that are not okay.
wait, there's a difference that I didn't describe first. I would also say like in certain contexts, chickens. It also applies to chickens like in certain contexts, yeah. Because like you can't just take any animal and just start holocausting them. It all requires context.
Yeah, hold on. Okay, just
I would say there are contexts for basically all animals other than humans that would justify the holocausting of them.
yeah. Look, everything you say is fucking gibberish. I just want to know if you agree with the following.
Okay.
So it's not okay to Holocaust human beings, right?
It's not.
Yep, it's not okay to Holocaust human beings. It is okay to Holocaust chickens?
In certain contexts.
In certain contexts. Okay, can you give me an example of a context where it's not okay to Holocaust chickens?
If they're not deemed, if they're, if we haven't decided that they're a necessary food source.
Yeah, right. Well, that sounds pretty close to my position, actually. I haven't
Like,
deemed.
I've also had like this discussion with Seppi, and like what we ended up agreeing on is like if we have two diets, one causing less harm than the other, then we should take the one with the less harm. If that's what you're boiling it down to, then I would agree. And then it would actually just be a discussion about like what diet causes the most harm, or why it's not practical to do the one deemed to cause the most harm, right? Which is why I think name the trait is a very unproductive discussion, because no matter who gets proven wrong or right, no one's gonna change jack shit about what they're doing. So it's way more logical to discuss what is more moral than the other.
So wait, let just like to be clear, are you saying if it's not the case that it's a necessary food source, we ought not kill chickens?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I would say it would actually
Yeah,
be a bit
fuck yeah.
different. I would say animals.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we just choose some animals which we deem to be great food sources.
Okay, so would you say if it's not the case that it's a necessary food source for all non-human animals, if it's not the case that it's a necessary food source, we ought not to kill them?
Maybe not to kill them, but not to holocaust them.
Oh yeah, yeah, sure. So
The deliberate farming and slaughtering. Yeah.
yeah, and so yeah, well, fuck yeah. That's basically my position. So fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I realized.
I mean,
like I've done like.
I mean, there's probably a bit of like,
We also ended at the same conclusion.
there's a bit of a gray area there. Like you might have a different conception of what necessary means.
Yeah, that's why I think that's a good discussion to have.
Yeah, no, it's just like name the traits is a very productive tool. It can be a very productive tool to use on the right person, but if you're saying it's all else equal, we ought not holocaust animals, non-human animals, then yeah, it's not clear to me if name the trait would be an appropriate argument to, or appropriate dialectic to run on you.
Yeah. That's also what I decided that I wanted to discuss with Aputa next, like instead of doing like this basically philosophical masturbation, as I call it, it would be more productive to like discuss why why I'm not on the diet most often perceived to be vegan, which is plant-based. Like, there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, I deem animals as a necessary food source, and secondly, I believe that the production of plants is more harmful than
Wait,
the production of animals. That's like the main reasons.
so did you say animals are a necessary food source?
Yeah.
Like, do you mean for humans?
Oh yeah, for humans. Yeah.
And what do you mean by necessary?
That they're necessary to live a healthy, optimal life.
Animals. So would you say? Yeah, I'm just trying to think how to word that. Animals are like the consumption of animals is required for humans in order to achieve optimum something.
in order to live healthily.
Oh,
That's also arbitrary. What qualifies as healthy? But like, yeah, they're necessary to reach optimal health.
Necessary to reach
Is what I would say.
optimal health. Yeah, it's just okay. So animals. Would you sign off on it is necessary to consume animals in order to achieve optimal health?
Wait, did you ask me a question I didn't hear? Why we silent?
Yeah, sorry. So the question is, do you agree with the proposition, it is necessary to consume animals in order to achieve optimal health?
Yeah.
And by necessary, do you just mean like it's impossible to achieve optimal health without consuming animals?
Yeah, at least in today's day and age, who is to say that in a billion years we might not have figured out like a better way to reach it, but like nowadays, like how it works right now, yes.
So it is impossible to achieve optimal health without consuming animals?
Yep.
And what do you mean by optimal health?
In the way that your body functions the best and you get to live the longest time as well. Like live the longest.
So it is impossible.
Okay, a mix between a high lifespan and a long lifespan and great bodily functions.
It is
High bodily function, although.
It is impossible to achieve high bodily function and to live the longest without consuming animals?
Yep.
And okay, so it is impossible to achieve high bodily function. Wait, look, you're probably going to explain what high bodily function is.
I would say, okay, it's something like being not being disease ridden, not having limitations from poor physical health. That could be like arthritis or low muscle mass or other stuff that would hinder you in using your body to its full potential, basically. Well, not full potential, but basically to make the most of your body. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah, so it is impossible to live the longest and make the most of your body without consuming animals?
Yeah.
Make the most of your body. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can. I don't know what that means.
You just said you know what it means and you understand. Then you write it down and say you don't know what it means. What the heck?
Yeah, look, the to make the most of your body, like that's it just seems highly subjective. Like Well, would you
It
be
would be, yeah.
would you be okay with arguing it is just like, let's say it is impossible to live the longest without consuming animals, or would it have to be
Yeah, we can also say that.
okay, yeah, let's just start with that, and if you want we can try and come back and like integrate the other part in that I'm not sure on. Just one more thing before I'm fully clear on this would be, what do you mean by consuming animals?
Um, Eating the flesh and fat of the animals.
Yeah, like, just so we're clear on what I'm trying to clarify is like, would it be compatible with your view for somebody to be vegan their entire life and then just like ingest one molecule from an animal, and then be, you know, and then live the longest? Would that be okay on your view? Like, would you agree with that?
No.
Yeah. So, is there
I
like
would
an
say if you
is,
want to live the longest, animals are a necessary part of your lifestyle to reach that point. What amount of animals is required for that is kind of that's a bit more complex and also
okay? If
depends
it's
on
if
different factors. But I would just say animals products in general.
if it's part of your lifestyle, would you say, you know, it's like a minimum of once a week or once a month, or would it be okay to consume animals less than once a month and still live the longest?
Um, no, but like if you're a vegan and you incorporate some animal products, like no matter how often, basically it will increase your lifespan. So like they're a necessary part of your daily routine.
Oh wait.
Let's say that.
Okay, so hang on. That would you sign off on this? If if a vegan adds animals to their diet, they will increase their lifespan.
Yeah. If vegan adds animal products into the diet, they will increase the lifespan. Yeah.
Right. So just to like sort of quantify what we're talking about. So by vegan we mean someone who does not currently consume animal products. Do they
Yeah.
do they have to be vegan for a certain amount of time? Like,
No.
so I could
Like, it's
just
not like you can benefit for a week without animal products.
okay.
Like,
So
if it's only animal products you're excluding, by the way.
so if someone has not consumed animal products for at least 1 week, adding animal products back into their diet will increase their lifespan.
No, what I'm arguing for is that you shouldn't even remove animal products in the first place. Like if you remove it for a week, that's not better than if you just kept them in. It would actually be worse for you if you removed them for just a week.
Oh yeah, yeah, no.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Oh wait, so if somebody who eats meat regularly stops eating meat, if someone who eats meat more than once a week stops eating meat for a week, it would decrease their lifespan.
yeah.
Yes. So if
Okay, it will most likely
it will most like okay.
increase the
Yeah. Okay. So if someone,
Oh, wait. Actually, if they, okay, I'll actually change it a bit because there might be some good effects of fasting where you technically don't consume meat. But I would say if you replace the meat in your diet with plants for a week, then yeah, it would be worse for a lifespan.
yeah, the problem with that is
That's what I would say.
we're back to there's just a little bit of clarity needed when you say what was it if you take meat out of your diet for a week or something.
Yeah, that was just an example.
Yeah, it's just that I don't know how much meat they would have had to be eating prior to the
It doesn't matter. I would say.
well, surely it matters. Like you wouldn't just say like if someone who's eaten a single molecule of animal products goes a week.
Okay, but then we're like, I think that's like unnecessarily nitpicking. Like the general premise is that if you eat it, then we can get to like significant amount of meat, which could be, I don't know, fucking 10 grams or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, look, if someone who eats,
It's hard to say.
if
And
someone,
you can't eat a molecule of meat. You can eat a cell,
yeah, so
basically.
if
How much that
somebody,
would affect? It might cost a couple of seconds, maybe. I don't know. That might be true, actually. That might cost a couple of seconds of your life, maybe, if you stop eating that one cell of meat. I think it's unnecessarily nitpicking what you're doing right now.
well, no, because like you don't want to have an argument that would be like susceptible to that kind of attack, right? So like,
Okay. Okay.
like I just need to know what it means. Like, I just need to know what type of person we're talking about. So like, are we talking about someone who has like, are we talking about like a carnivore going vegan for a week? Is going to decrease their lifespan?
It could be like anything from like, I'll say, what I would feel confident in saying is right. I would probably say like 10%, from like 5% meat to like 100% meat, and if they change it to 0% meat, then it would have a significant cost in lifespan.
Yeah, right. So
Cost in lifespan, because I don't want to get into the significant thing again with you.
yeah, that's fine. So if somebody's diet consists of an average percentage of calories between 5 and 100% animal products.
And like with the thresholds, I'm not dead set on 5. If someone has like 4.99%, then yeah, that will also impact their life. That's why I don't like giving thresholds.
Yeah, so
You can also always go like a little step below. That would not be unreasonable to say. That's also correct.
Is there a threshold you would say this argument wouldn't apply? Like if it was just 1%, if someone who eats 1% of an average of 1% of their diet is meat, and then they went on a fully plant-based diet for a week, would you expect to see their lifespan decrease?
I would say if we had like perfect technology and we knew what their lives would have been, then yeah, we would probably see like a small difference. Even if they eat only like 1% meat. If we start talking about like per molecule of meat, then it becomes kind of, yeah, I don't know.
That's fine.
I don't know if that would create anything.
So okay, so if if someone eats, if someone's percentage of animal products in terms of calories in their diet is at least 1%, going on a plant-based diet for at least 7 days will you'll be able to point to you'll be able to point to some evidence that their lifespan has decreased in virtue of this week on a plant-based diet.
Yeah, if we had a way of knowing what their exact lifespan were, then I would say that, yeah, it would decrease their lifspan from what they would have been getting.
Wait a minute.
They include the meat.
So, are you telling me you can prove this claim or not? Like,
no, you can't prove this claim.
oh, then why the fuck do you bring it up?
You can't prove any of these claims, but I would say that.
Then why the fuck did you say it if you can't prove it? Like, what the fuck?
Bro, we can't prove anything. That's my entire idea, but like I would say.
Oh wait, so is your position that nothing can be proven?
Okay, maybe not nothing, but like at least with the current evidence available today on human nutrition, we cannot prove basically any dietary intervention as being beneficial or not. Like I can't prove that veganism is bad. I can't prove that a carnivore diet is good. But I can say with a certain level of confidence that one is correct and the other isn't. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I guess I just don't know what the fuck on earth that means. It's just like, yeah, it's just complete and utter gibberish.
Well, English is your native language. You should know what it means.
Yeah, well, the thing with words like, what did you say? We can't prove like basically anything or
regarding human nutrition with the evidence available today. And like when I mean prove, I mean like we're 100% certain. So we can't prove something, but it actually goes back to like the reasonable doubt. But we can say something is evident beyond a reasonable doubt for certain reasons. Or we have a certain level of confidence in something being correct. Is basically what I would say. So we have evidence for something, things being evident beyond a reasonable doubt, but we don't have evidence of something being proven to be true in the context of human nutrition.
yeah, just like whenever, like there's been a few like, terms that you've used that I've tried to clarify what they mean, and you haven't clarified what they mean sufficiently. So when you say things like reasonable doubt, I don't know what the fuck you mean.
It's whatever the person deems to be.
Yeah, well, no, I want to know what you mean.
Maybe it would actually help me if I Google the definition, because I know it's like it's used in science a lot, like that term, evident beyond reasonable doubt, because you can't really be 100% certain on anything, so we just say reasonable, beyond reasonable doubt. So I can read the definition here. In a criminal case, the prosecution must convince the jury that the defendant is guilty of the crime with which he has been charged and should be convicted. Beyond a reasonable doubt means that the evidence presented and the arguments put forward by the prosecution establish the defendant's guilt so clearly that they must be accepted as fact by any rational person. Would you take that definition?
Must be accepted by as a fact by any rational person.
Yeah.
By any rational person.
everyone who doesn't believe saturated fat causes heart disease is a dumb fuck. Or whatever.
Yeah, but like I don't.
So that, yeah. That will almost go like in tune with what you think.
I'm just not. I don't know if I know what you mean by rational person.
I don't know if I know what you mean by dumb fuck.
Yeah, but I'm not trying. Like, I'm not trying to like make a proposition.
I can't like describe exactly what each person, what a rational person is. Like, and again, like it's also subjective who each of us deem a rational person. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Deem a rational person not to believe that saturated fat causes heart disease. You would say otherwise. So it's also subjective who is a rational person. By some one we deem to think rationally.
Yeah, well, look, if the claim is that there's no evidence to conclude any causal make any causal inferences in the nutrition literature with 100% certainty. Yeah, I'm not
That's
sure.
actually not what I was gonna debate.
Oh, sorry, I thought that's.
I actually want to go away from that because I didn't want to say like, oh well, it's not 100% certain. I want to actually get into like talking about this stuff, which is why I came up with the evident beyond reasonable doubt, so we could actually like talk about like, is it evident beyond a reasonable doubt that this causes this or whatever.
Yeah, I think I just need like what would it mean for a doubt to be reasonable? Like,
well, that's why I said like that the evidence is so compelling that basically any rational person should view it as a fact. That's evident beyond reasonable doubt.
and what is a rational person?
Whoever each person deems to be rational. Oh wait, actually maybe what might help me again to conclude the definition. Rational person definition. Maybe they have something smarter to say about it. Having or exercising the ability to reason or be logical. Consistent with or based on reason or good judgment, logical or sensible, of sound mind. Yeah. It's basically someone who is reasonable and logical. And again, who is reasonable and who is logical is also arbitrary.
Yeah, but
Like,
the problem is like
to be that.
if your argument is going to make some kind of claim about what any rational person would believe or would question, I just don't know how a claim like that could be proven, like because
Oh, it can.
well, it just seems like you would have to be you would have
Like,
to
that's the
know
whole thing.
their subjective.
We can't prove this. We can't prove this. That's the whole thing I'm trying to say. Like, for instance, with smoking, we don't have 100% certain data that smoking causes lung cancer. But you would agree with me that it's evident beyond a reasonable doubt that it is. That does
Okay.
cause lung cancer.
Okay, so would you say if it's the case that a person believes something, if it's the case that a person makes a causal inference with respect to some nutritional literature, then it's the case that that person is not acting rationally?
Wait, repeat that. So if a person, I'll try and say what I heard. So if a person is making a causal inference on, what did you say?
If a person is making a causal inference with respect to some nutritional data, then it's not
Yeah.
the case that they're acting rationally.
No one say that because causal inference is like inferring. It's basically the same as evident beyond reasonable doubt. You're inferring causality. You don't know like with 100% certain that it's causal, but
Yeah,
you
look.
say with
Okay,
confidence
what if
that you can with confidence infer causality.
if
Basically.
if someone believes they have reasonable grounds to make a causal inference from nutritional literature, then it's not the case that they're acting rationally?
No one say that. I also do the same thing.
Yeah.
I would say I have a certain confidence in different thing to infer causal inference, but I would never say like this causes this. But I would say it's like reasonable to assume that this causes this, and it would be way more unreasonable not to assume it. You know.
So on your view, it's actually not unreasonable to take the position that saturated fat causes heart disease.
And to say that it downright causes heart disease, no questions. That would be that would not be true or not rational, I would say. But saying that it's likely to cause heart disease, that you're inferring it causes heart disease, then I would say yeah, that is rational. Or it's not rational to. It's rational to infer causality on different things. I would not agree with the conclusion, but it's not like. Yeah, I would say if you infer causality in different things, that's not a grounds for not being a rational person.
What do you mean different thing?
Definitely disagree if they said that saturated fat causes heart disease.
Wait, so,
Inferring causality on it.
so is the proposition just that you disagree that saturated fat causes heart disease?
It could also be that.
Yeah, well, then I agree with the proposition that you disagree that saturated fat causes heart disease. It's just not a proposition I would disagree with. Look, it's been nearly 2 fucking hours. You wanted a debate about the proposition that it's saturated fat.
I wanted to discuss the study you brought up. That was all. I mean, I don't really see like we don't need like an autistically nitpicked proposition to just debate whether or not we deem this. Why I think this evidence is not good, or why you think this evidence is good. I mean, it's literally what I thought it was going to be. It was just like a discussion about like the study you brought up. And we just discussed that.
To be clear, I was under the impression that we had. To be clear, I was under the impression that we had agreed that the proposition was that saturated fat does not cause heart disease. When we started this call nearly 2 hours ago, you immediately backed off that claim, and it took you like an hour to come up with a proposition, which you failed to do. And then we started talking about name the trait for another half an hour, and you basically just signed off on a vegan position at the end of it, and then you went back to trying to formulate a proposition. You said animals. Wait. You said animals are a necessary food source for humans, and then I asked you what is necessary, and then it became it is necessary to consume animals in order to achieve optimal health. I still didn't know what necessary was, and then it became it is impossible to achieve optimal health without consuming animals, and I said, what the fuck is optimal health? And then it became it is impossible to live the longest without. What? Look.
If you don't know what necessary means, find a dictionary.
Look,
Like literally, this entire like always these vegans like they act like they don't know what words mean, and I don't get it. Like why
yeah, look, I can answer that.
why can't you just? It's very simple,
Look,
and we might not agree what is necessary, but I don't see how it's hard to comprehend.
look. There's more than one thing that
I think it's just stalling.
Listen, there's more than one thing that someone could mean by the word necessary. Now, if you wanted to say, I know you don't want to say this because you backed off the claim, but if you wanted to say animals are a necessary food source for humans, well, look, I don't want to risk strawmanning you. So if I just go to the dictionary, it's going to tell me something like, look, by the way I'm reading this, it looks like it's going to mean something like, if it's not the case that humans eat animal products, then they're just going to fucking die. If you're saying it's necessary, like there's different.
I mean, you can also use your brain a bit. I'm not saying if you stop eating animal products for like I don't know, an infinite part of a second, you'll die.
Yeah, but yeah. But do you see there what? No. Like you were saying, you were saying it's easy. Just go in dictionary and read the definition, right? But you've just agreed that like there's interpretations of it that aren't the one that you're giving.
Okay, there's also logical interpretations of it.
Yeah.
Like I said there, I don't think a single person on the earth would interpret necessary as that way in any context. Like what even is that interpretation? It's almost like you're trying to find the most absurd interpretation to defend yourself.
Well,
like,
no,
using your brain.
I'm not trying to find. I'm not trying to ascribe a ridiculous interpretation to you. I'm just asking you what you mean by it, so then we can proceed with a shared understanding of what was meant. Because, if I just say, oh yeah, like, I know what you mean, bro, don't worry, and then I'm just like, well, look, that proposition would just be falsified if someone had not eaten animal products, if someone had just lived, I don't know, a day, a week, an hour without animal products, then that proposition would just be falsified. If you're saying it's a necessary food source, like, yeah, I just don't think it's unfair to ask for clarity on what that means.
Well, I would say again, like, no person in the right mind is gonna think that it means like if you don't consume this for 1 hour, you're dead.
Sure.
But like, I mean, if you said plants are necessary for humans to eat, I would be pretty sure I knew what you meant. I'll be very sure where to go with that. Like, of course, if you say they're necessary, that's also going to mean that they are, that it's impossible to obtain optimal health without, or like obtain the longest lifespan without them. Like, that's just entailed by that claim, so it wouldn't really be hard for me to think of that, or that you think it would be more unhealthy not to include plants. Like, then we can start talking about like all this shit with like, what if I consume only one molecule of plants? Would that be healthy or would that be unhealthy or whatever? Like, it's just weird. It's basically word games with you. It's just semantics.
Yeah, it is. And I don't see the problem with that. So, look, I'm just going to ask, like, do you want to present a proposition or not?
Well, the thing is, I've tried many times, but for some reason, if it contains just like the slightest bit of subjective, if it requires just a little bit of one's subjective mind to take part in it.
Yeah, look,
You don't want to like.
It's a prerequisite for me that the proposition is clarified, and then I decide that I disagree with it before I agree to debate it. Yes.
But of course, but again, like you disagree with like the fact that if I say there is not sufficient evidence to say that saturated fat, or to infer causality between saturated fat and heart disease, you would disagree with that. Shouldn't the debate just be on from there?
Well,
and then you'd be like, no, what does sufficient mean?
Yeah, I would ask what sufficient means.
Yeah, sufficient you deem to be sufficient. And if you don't know what sufficient means, dictionary. But every debate is going to have some set of subjective part to it. Like, what do you deem to be this? And I would actually challenge you, as I challenged you in the beginning, which you failed to do. Like, find a proposition about, like, human nutrition where it wouldn't require some level of subjective interpretation. For instance, what is sufficient and what isn't sufficient. That would be subjective interpretation. So please, give me an example.
Yeah, I would just say the proposition you originally said you wanted to debate, which was that, consuming consuming saturated fat does not cause heart disease. That's
but how do
pretty.
We determine that?
That's pretty clear to me.
We each share evidence, and but we each share evidence why we think this and why we don't think it.
I don't know what.
It's also like subjective interpretation from there. Like, why don't you think my evidence is as good as yours, and why don't I think your evidence is as good as mine? Is because of the way we interpret it. We don't find.
No, well, hold on. You changed what you were saying. You originally were saying, I challenge you to come up with a proposition that wouldn't have some level of subjectivity in it, and then I gave you a proposition, which was actually the proposition that I thought we were fucking debating tonight, and that seemed clear to me. And now you're saying, oh, but if we got into a back and forth presenting evidence, there would be some subjectivity somewhere within there. Well, I don't care. Like, you asked me, is it possible to come to a clarified proposition? And I fucking gave you that example.
No, but like where the debate wouldn't. Okay, maybe I asked it wrongly, but whether the debate wouldn't require like subjective interpretation, because no matter what, like these two propositions would basically be a debate about the exact same thing, debating in the exact same way, basically, but just the proposition containing a subjective word, where it's just there. In the other example, it just doesn't use the subjective word in the proposition. It just gets used in the debate, actually. So there would be no difference in what we're discussing, basically, no matter what proposition of those two we use.
Yeah, well, it's just not clear to me why I would proceed to debate a proposition that you might have a different interpretation of to what I have.
Well, we also have different interpretations of studies. Does that mean we can no longer discuss studies?
No, that's just not fucking analogous.
Like, we both like know what sufficient means, but what each person deems sufficient is different. We both know what the study shows, but
yeah,
whether it's relevant.
Well, look, to be clear.
So the question is different depending on who you ask. So it's like the exact same thing.
To be clear, like, I have a concept of what sufficient means. You tried to use the word sufficient, and I asked you what it means. You couldn't fucking answer that question, so I don't know if you fucking know what you mean when you say that.
said like, how do you know what you think to be sufficient? I can't name exactly what Esther needs.
No. I didn't say how
to
do
be
you.
sufficient.
I didn't say how do you
Okay.
know what you mean. I said what do you mean by sufficient.
Okay, so what I mean by that is, okay, now we look at the dictionary. Be as is needed or adequate or enough. So basically, if there's adequate evidence to suggest.
So are we going?
Saturated fat causes heart disease.
Yeah, so we're going back to that proposition. So you're saying there's not adequate evidence. Like, do you see? Like, I'm just going to be asking you what adequate means at that point.
Being as much as is needed. And again, then we can get to discuss like, what do we think is enough? What do we think is needed to qualify as adequate or sufficient? And that is what the debate would also be about if we had the other proposition, which is saturated fat does not cause heart disease. It would be the same fucking thing.
Yeah, look, well, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like if you actually knew, like, because to be clear, like, if this is clarified, you're gonna have to provide evidence for the claim. Like,
For one claim.
like if you can clarify what you mean by adequate evidence, then the proposition is going to be there is not adequate evidence to conclude that consuming saturated fat increases risk of cardiovascular disease or something like that. So, you know, if you can get that to a point where I understand what you're saying, the next question is going to be, what's the evidence? So I don't know why the fuck you think I'm going to be presenting some case, or why you think it matters what I think adequate or necessary or sufficient means. Like I'm happy to just know what you mean and interpret it through that lens.
Okay, so I think sufficient means being as much as is needed. Like, there is enough evidence as I need to be convinced that something is sufficient.
Right. So how much evidence do you need to conclude?
We can't give a number on that. It's unfortunately impossible. I would love to, but I can't.
So, but do you see the problem is it's gonna like cash out to something like it is unclear whether there is evidence. It is unclear whether the evidence would lead to a valid inference that it is the case that consuming saturated fat increases cardiovascular disease risk. And if that's the proposition, then yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would debate that, because, you know, at the end of the day, it sounds like it's just going to be you saying, it's just going to be your like appraisal of the situation. So you're basically just saying, oh look, for my epistemic standard, it's not clear whether there's sufficient evidence in order to make that that inference. And in that case, I probably just agree with the proposition.
I mean, as I've said many times before, debating is about like sharing viewpoints and not about like winning or losing. So if we end up going with the sufficient evidence thing that I brought forth, it would go something like this. So like, I explain why. Just a second. Yeah, I'm back now. So how it would go is basically, I share why I don't believe there is sufficient evidence. You share why you
Yeah,
It's,
I
it's
mean,
literally what debating is. It is literally just sharing your viewpoint, and then we can discuss back and forth why we believe such a thing, like why we believe what we believe. It is literally what debating is.
well, I don't share that
If you think
definition.
if you think something is sufficient, and I don't believe something is sufficient, then we discuss that why we have that disagreement, and that's literally what debating is.
Yeah, just to be clear, I don't share that definition of what a debate is. I think a debate is when you disagree on some proposition and then argue over the truth value of it. So I don't know what it means to
Okay,
just.
how about this then? We just have a conversation about why we believe what we believe and why we don't believe what we believe.
I mean, you're welcome to do that with like anyone else on my server or on
Okay,
some
so
different
you
server,
want to play
but
semantics and word games, but you don't want to actually get to the studies. Okay, okay,
yeah,
I get it.
yeah, like I refuse to have a conversation where there's no like there's no proposition on the table, and it's not clear that we're using words that we both have a shared definition or understanding. That just seems like it would just be
Yeah, we have a shared
gibberish.
understanding. We just have differences in what we deem to meet that criteria. We both have the same understanding of what sufficient means. We just have different ideas on what meets the criteria to be sufficient. So it's not like we are talking two different languages here. We're talking the same language. We both know what it means. We just disagree on
Well, if we
the
both
versatility of.
if we both knew what it meant, surely you could just tell me what you mean when you say it.
To be as much as needed, to be adequate or enough. So there is enough evidence
Yeah. So
to
what?
say that.
So what? You know, what would constitute enough?
Enough is, again, that's exactly what's subjective. So one study might be enough for you, whereas another study might be enough for me, and we disagree on whether one study is enough for each other. Because it's very subjective. Like, there is no clear-cut definition of what is sufficient for each person. Like, you can't say what's sufficient for you, and I can't say what's sufficient for me, but I know I see a bunch of stuff, and after a while, I consider it to be sufficient.
Well, yeah. I mean, if there's nothing to debate, I'm probably just going to go to bed.
Okay, do that.
All right. Good chat, man. Have a good one.
Okay, you too.